So how important is it for clients to understand ex-post risk measures?
It's actually very important for a client to understand ex-post risk measures. And one of the reasons being, when you're buying a product, it's like any other product. And so when you go and you invest, you're taking your money and you're buying something. And so not only are you essentially buying the future returns, you're also buying the risk that's accompanied with those. So you want to make sure that your own risk tolerances are lined up with what the product has to offer. So it's very key that you are aware of those risks and you have some basic understanding of the risk measures. So, a quick example. So a risk measure is like standard deviation. A lot of us have some familiarity with that from maybe a statistics course that they took, and it's at least within arm's length for you to get your brain around, yeah, I know it's a measure of variability, and so when you look at the numbers, you have some sense of the range of possibilities, and the probabilities. So it's important. You don't have to be a statistician, but you have to be somewhat aware. Just like when you go buy anything else, you want to be aware of the product, what are its pluses, its minuses, its attributes, those sorts of things.
What are some of the challenges to reporting ex-post risk?
Okay, so there are some challenges when you're reporting ex-post risk. A lot of times you get your data from a vendor. For example, anybody can report ex-post risk. You just take your returns, you take maybe a benchmark return, and you chug it through an engine and you get information. However, there's different methodologies. So if you're computing your information and maybe a third-party vendor where somebody else is getting that information, they look at those two results, they might be a little different. So certainly change in differences in methodologies, that could be a problem, or at least raise some questions. But certainly if you're aware as a practitioner, if you are the financial advisor, you can point that out to a client and at least explain it as a talking point.
Who within a firm should be responsible for the ex-post risk reporting?
Largely, the people who report performance in a performance measurement and risk group should be responsible for the ex-post risk measures. They're in a position where they're most likely getting access to all the data that they need to compute these numbers properly. They're very in tune with the GIPS standards, and they can pretty much put this measure together in, let's say, a safe environment where it's not manipulated, where there's consistency, which is critical, in the methodology. And so it should reside in the performance and risk team, but sometimes you have a separate risk team or you have a compliance team where risk is housed. And so you want to make sure that they know what you're doing, the methodologies, which should be documented, and the portfolio managers as well, because across the entire firm, you want to have a consistent message of what your risk is, what your measures are, and how you calculate them. But as far as where the data resides, it should really be coming out of a formal group. And my personal opinion is it should be performance and risk.